Hello and welcome and namaste from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up over the next 1 hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi highlights India's transformation into a hub of digital innovation, tech-led governance and global trust. Says India's tech journey over the last 11 years is nothing short of revolutionary. India-EU Free Trade Agreement feasible by the end of 2025. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says a balanced, ambitious and mutually beneficial FTA will elevate strategic partnership. Los Angeles and other cities across the U.S. witnessed protests. Over 400 people arrested, including 330 undocumented migrants. Raids continue in Omaha, detaining dozens. Deal done to get U.S. China trade truce back on track. Donald Trump says U.S. tariffs will be set at 55%, China's at 10%. And the U.S. is to pull out its personnel from West Asia over security threats from Iran. U.S. envoy Witkoff to meet Iran's foreign minister on Sunday. Well, Prime Minister Modi's government has completed 11 years in office. Up next, we revisit the government's initiatives in revolutionizing India's digital space. Now, a revolution where technology meets inclusion. Under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of Digital India, initiatives like UPI, DBT have been bridging gaps, boosting transparency and bringing governance closer to every citizen, right down to the last mile. Over 4.4 lakh crore of, 44 lakh crore of rupees directly transferred to beneficiaries' accounts, while more than 2,500 times jump has been recorded in UPI transaction volume. Prime Minister Modi has asserted that powered by the youth of India, we are making remarkable progress in innovation and application of technology. It's also strengthening our efforts to become a self-reliant and global tech powerhouse. Over 17,000 crore UPI transactions have been recorded in just 1 year. Today, India accounts for 49% of global real-time digital payments, a testament to the power of Digital India initiative.
यूपीआई के साथ-साथ इनमें से करोड़ों ने करा पहली बार डिजिटल बैंकिंग का इस्तेमाल। ये आवाज है नए भारत की तेज।
Besides, the government's program of providing unique identification number or Aadhaar is powering India's digital identity revolution. With over 150 billion authentications that is authentic transactions carried out, Aadhaar stands as the world's largest digital ID program, empowering 141 crore Indians with a unique 12-digit identity. Aadhaar is a 12-digit unique identity number that can be obtained voluntarily by all residents of India based on their biometrics and demographic data. Also developed under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's Digital India is the flagship initiative for DigiLocker. It is now the world's largest digital locker with over 52 plus crore registered users, enabling citizens to access documents anytime, anywhere. The initiative towards paperless governance, DigiLocker, aims at digital empowerment of citizens by providing access to authentic digital documents to citizens' digital document wallet. DigiLocker is a secure cloud-based platform for storage, sharing and verification of documents and certificates. And apart from DigiLocker, the government is also empowering pensioners with seamless digital services. With Jeevan Praman Patra initiative, over 10 crore pensioners enjoy a simplified paperless process for digital life certificates. Jeevan Praman is a biometric-enabled digital service for pensioners. Since the 1st of November 2024, more than 143 lakh certificates have been digitally submitted, ensuring dignity, ease and efficiency in every step. Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission is another revolutionizing government initiative towards healthcare. With over 78 plus crore Ayushman Bharat health accounts, 55 plus crore health record link and 6.5 lakh plus verified professionals, the Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission is unifying healthcare across India, making it smarter, safer and more accessible for all. The mission aims to develop the backbone necessary to support the integrated digital health infrastructure of the country. And the government's Pradhan Mantri Gramin Digital Saksharta Abhiyan, that is digital literacy campaign, is also bridging the digital divide in rural India with the world's largest digital literacy program. Over 7.35 crore candidates have registered and over 6.3 crore candidates have been trained. Prime Minister Modi has hailed initiatives under Digital India, saying technology has become a means of empowering the lives of the poorest of poor. Let me now take you across to my colleague Tapas Bhattacharya for more on this. Tapas, clearly this is a huge feather in the cap and a showcase, a global showcase for India.
Absolutely, without an iota of doubt, in the last decade, the way India has grown, the leaps are gone, especially when it comes to digital public infrastructure space. That says a lot about the country. The way we have transformed the way people actually transact, the way digital public infrastructure across the world, not just in the country but across the world. And it's, leading from that is UPI transaction. We have been talking about how UPI has made changes in the way Indians make the payment. There is a 2,500 times jump in the UPI transaction in April 2025. We saw that to 1,867 crores. So that's a huge from on just 0.93 crores in 2017. So that's a 2,500% jump that we have seen. And it's the same thing we saw in the transaction, online transaction. We saw that in terms of UPI not just being in India but also crossing boundaries, moving to other countries. We saw that when we went to France also, where people can actually pay through UPI in France, in the UAE, in other countries. And also, as you mentioned, there is a connection of internet users, low cost internet bandwidth, and all these has transformed India from a country with almost nil internet access or connectivity to now becoming and global behemoth. People, companies like Starlink are about to start up their business here, and they are wanting to set up shop here. So that's a huge change and thought work that have come.
Right. And what further spin-offs can we expect, spin-off benefits can we expect of this in terms of how the Indian currency is likely to be further globalized with this Tapas?
Well, yeah, absolutely. When we talk about that, the world, you mentioned the fact that global currency, right now the global currency is dollar, but that is because the way it has been used for transaction in different countries. Now, if UPI and digital public infrastructure is made more stronger and it is accessible not just in India but outside the country, we saw that the kind of the work that is currently RBI doing and the payment gateway that they are working with, let's say, UAE or for that matter other countries in France and UAE and right now it's working with other countries like Russia. They're trying to set up something like that. So if that kind of thing works out, it will help India to trade in rupee and not be dependent on international currency like dollar. The fluctuation in dollar, fluctuation in economy in US or for that matter in the European countries tend to have an impact on the global finances. And global finances, as you already know, is controlled by dollar, euro, franc. So it is imperative that India try to bypass this particular route and have a payment gateway system that through which they can make the payment in other countries as well.
And we'll have to see how Donald Trump's big beautiful bill might impact the stability of the dollar in the coming days.
Also something.
We're completely out of time. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment. Tapas Bhattacharya talking about the revolution that has been unfolding in India as far as the digital space or the digital firmament is concerned in the last 11 years. Now, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar paid an official visit to Brussels from the 9th to the 11th of June this year. During the visit, the minister spoke at the German Marshall Fund Brussels Forum 2025, where he highlighted the importance of India's relationship with the European Union. Dr. Jaishankar said that India gives pretty high priority to its relations with the EU, highlighting the growing interest in Europe over the past decade. The External Affairs Minister expressed optimism about India-EU Free Trade Agreement, saying that discussions have been positive and that the agreement is within sight of being finalized by the end of the year.
We are really looking at, deepening our ties. So the centerpiece is the FTA, of course, which has been under negotiation for some time now. But everything that I heard, including this morning from Commissioner Shevchovich, was very positive. A lot has been done, and everything that I heard on this trip gives me the confidence that it's within sight, yes, that by the end of the year it is feasible to do this.
And while speaking at the GMF Brussels Forum 2025, Dr. Jaishankar said that there is a complex equilibrium in the world as India and China have risen to power, and these countries also happen to be neighbors.
We have a situation where China and India, who are, who stand out because they're the only two countries with over 1 billion people, but also because they are two civilizational states in a way. They have, you see a kind of a parallel rise. The Chinese started their modernization ahead of us because I think we had at that time governments perhaps who didn't do what they should have done in those early years. But be that as it may, you have a rise of China, you have a rise of India. Sure. Now each one is creating a certain new equilibrium between them and the world, the rising power in the world. And then a much more complex equilibrium between the two rising powers, who also happen to be neighbors and who sometimes have common neighbors as well.
Dr. Jaishankar also addressed India's neutral stance on the Russia-Ukraine conflict, which has drawn criticism from the EU for not taking a definitive side. He said that they don't believe that differences can be resolved through war. He explained, emphasizing India's historical grievances and the need for countries to consider their own experiences and interests.
We have felt from the start that even if two countries, two neighbors have differences, even very deep differences, it cannot be settled by recourse to war. Okay. If war has started, you're not going to get, given the situation, you're not going to get a solution out of the battlefield. If you're not going to get a solution out of the battlefield, then the answer is to negotiate. If you are going to negotiate, it makes sense to negotiate directly rather than through very convoluted signaling. Sure. So that's been our position.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. Austria mourns 10 victims of school shooting with a memorial service. Devastating wildfires still rage on, ravaging Western Canada. And June, strawberry moon rises over Dubai's towers.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Johar.
Johar. It fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I am Gautam Roy. Now, protests against Donald Trump's harsh immigration policies spread on Wednesday across the United States despite a military-backed crackdown in Los Angeles and threats by the U.S. president to use heavy force as cities across the U.S. witnessed more protests. Demonstrators marched, danced and sang in front of the Edward R. Roybal Federal Building as members of the California National Guard and Los Angeles Police Department stood in formation nearby. In LA, nearly 400 people have so far been arrested, including 330 undocumented migrants and 157 people for assault and obstruction, including one for the attempted murder of a police officer. 2 Los Angeles countymen have been charged by federal authorities with possession of Molotov cocktails during recent immigration enforcement demonstrations in downtown LA and Paramount.
This is just the 2 cases we have been able to charge now. We are looking at hundreds of people. We have video, we have FBI collecting video, we are collecting body cam, we're collecting social media, we're collecting everything. And we're going to take our time, we're going to identify people. They think the mask is saving them, it's not saving them. We're going to identify them and we will bring charges. We will bring charges for attacks on local law enforcement. We have a federal statute for that. In a time of civil unrest, we can charge them with a federal statute.
Meanwhile, U.S. troops deployed in LA are authorized to detain people until police can arrest them, their commanding officer said on Wednesday, as hundreds of Marines prepared to move into the city as it entered a 6th day of protests. Protests over President Donald Trump's immigration raids have spread from California to the other U.S. cities, with hundreds of nationwide demonstrations planned on Saturday. During an interview outside the White House in Washington, D.C., a national security expert said Donald Trump's move to deploy the National Guard troops and Marines to LA in California in response to the immigration protests is what is perhaps flaming the flames or flagging the flames further.
Governor of California, the mayor of Los Angeles said things are perfectly under control, and yet the president has insisted on deploying not even a small number of troops. Right now, we're seeing 4,000 National Guard troops that have been called up and 700 Marines. This is more troops than we have in Iraq and Syria combined right now to respond to protests that the local law enforcement say are relatively under control.
I beg your pardon, the correct phrase is fanning the flames further, and that's what is happening really in the U.S. at the moment. Now, LA Mayor Karen Bass has condemned Donald Trump's deployment of U.S. Marines and National Guard personnel in response to immigration protests, and has called for an end to the federal immigration sweeps that have been disrupting cities across the region.
All of us represent cities in this region where immigrants are key, and if in some cases not the majority of the population. To have people live in fear like it is today is just unacceptable. So we started off by hearing the administration wanted to go after violent felons, gang members, drug dealers. But when you raid Home Depots and workplaces, when you tear parents and children apart, and when you run armored caravans through our streets, you're not trying to keep anyone safe. You're trying to cause fear and panic. And when you start deploying federalized troops on the heels of these raids, it is a drastic and chaotic escalation and completely unnecessary.
But Donald Trump isn't backing down. His administration is pressurizing Mexico to investigate and prosecute politicians with suspected links to organized crime and to extradite them to the U.S., if there are criminal charges to answer there, according to sources familiar with the matter. Now, the requests raised at least 3 times by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and his team in bilateral meetings and conversations with Mexican officials seek to push President Claudia Sheinbaum's government to investigate current elected officials and launch an unprecedented crackdown on narco-corruption. In their discussions, the U.S. officials have called for action against several politicians from Sheinbaum's own Morena party and threatened to levy further tariffs if Mexico does not take action. German Chancellor Merz and Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen agreed on the need to urgently curb immigration to maintain social cohesion and strengthen EU rules on asylum. Both the leaders emphasized that uncontrolled migration threatens to undermine social cohesion across Europe. Chancellor Friedrich Merz praised Denmark's long-standing firm approach to migration, calling it an example for others. Prime Minister Frederiksen also echoed these concerns, stressing the importance of a common European solution. Furthermore, U.S. President Trump has announced that the tariffs on Chinese goods will be reduced to 55% under a new trade agreement. With this decision, the U.S. and China have called a truce in their ongoing trade row. The deal includes a provision in which China will supply the U.S. with rare earth elements vital to major U.S. companies. The deal also removes Chinese export restrictions on rare earth minerals and allows Chinese students access to U.S. universities. Under the latest agreement, the U.S. will impose 55% tariff across the board on Chinese goods, down from 145%. And in return, Beijing will impose a 10% tariff on goods it imports from the U.S., down from 125%. Trump said a final deal is subject to approval from him and Chinese President Xi Jinping.
I would, but I don't think we're going to have that necessity. We made a great deal with China. We're very happy with it. We have everything we need, and we're going to do very well with it, and hopefully they are too.
U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has called on China to uphold its commitments under an initial U.S. trade agreement reached in Geneva last month, hours after he and other U.S. and Chinese officials agreed on a new framework to implement the deal. Wednesday's announcement from Donald Trump has come after a series of marathon negotiations that were held between the U.S. and the Chinese side in London. Iran's defense minister has said his country would target U.S. military bases in the region if a conflict breaks out with the United States days ahead of a planned 6th round of Iran-U.S. nuclear talks. Defense Minister Aziz Nasirzadeh has said on Wednesday that Iran would target U.S. military bases in the region if America attacks it first. Washington and Tehran have held 5 rounds of talks since April as Donald Trump seeks an agreement that would place constraints on Iran's uranium enrichment program. Trump has repeatedly threatened Iran with bombing if it does not reach a new nuclear deal. Well, the next round of talks is due this week, with Trump saying negotiations will be held on Thursday, while Tehran has said they will take place on Sunday in Oman. Iran is expected to hand a counter-proposal to a previous U.S. offer for a nuclear deal it rejected, with Trump saying that Iran was becoming much more aggressive in nuclear talks. Meanwhile, the U.S. is preparing for partial evacuation of its Iraqi embassy and will allow military dependents to leave locations around the Middle East due to heightened security risks in the region. Donald Trump has said U.S. personnel are being moved out of the Middle East because it could be a dangerous place. That's within quotes, adding that the U.S. would not allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. A U.S. official said the State Department had authorized voluntary departures from Bahrain and Kuwait. The State Department updated its worldwide travel advisory on Wednesday in the evening to reflect the latest U.S. posture. The decision by the U.S. to evacuate some personnel has come at a volatile moment in the region. Now, clashes between followers of Bolivian ex-president Evo Morales and the police clearing roadblocks left 2 officers dead and several wounded. Supporters of Morales, who led the Andean country from 2006 to 2019, began blocking key roads on the 2nd of June over electoral authorities' refusal to allow him to run for a fourth term in the 17th of August elections. The protests have since snowballed into a wider revolt over President Luis Arce's handling of a deep economic crisis marked by several shortages of hard currency and fuel. A public memorial service has taken place in the main square of the Austrian city of Graz the day after 10 people were shot dead at a school by a former pupil. Hundreds gathered in the city's main square where candles, flowers and handwritten notes surrounded a temporary memorial honoring the victims. Austrian President delivered a somber address calling the tragedy a wound in our national conscience. Security has been tightened at schools across the country, and the government has announced plans to review firearm regulations and school safety protocols. The shooter, identified as a 19-year-old former student, was taken into custody shortly after the incident. Authorities continue to investigate the motive. But it's also been said that the shooter apparently later killed himself in a bathroom. Now, a fast-moving wildfire near a Canadian town outside Vancouver has intensified, with helicopters battling fierce flames above dense forest land. The fire has engulfed approximately thousands of hectares as the blaze continues to spread rapidly due to dry conditions, high winds and unseasonably warm temperatures. Emergency officials have issued evacuation orders and alerts for several nearby communities, warning residents to be prepared to leave at very short notice. Several roads have been closed and firefighting crews from neighbouring provinces have been deployed to reinforce local response teams. Now, the death toll from floods in South Africa's Eastern Cape province has risen to 49. Parts of South Africa have been lashed by heavy rain and snow since the weekend, in a severe winter cold front that has disrupted transport and power networks. Earlier, a school bus was swept away by floods near Tata and the Eastern Cape Premier, which caused the death of 6 people, with 4 still missing. Flooding has become more severe in South Africa as the impact of climate change is being felt severely. June's full moon, known as the strawberry moon, cast a soft golden pink glow as it rose gracefully above the sleek skyline of Dubai. Towering skyscrapers like the Burj Khalifa and Marina Towers were silhouetted against the luminous orb, creating a breathtaking contrast between nature's celestial beauty and modern architectural marvels. And there's more to come in this edition of DD India News Hour. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has invited Swedish businesses to be an integral part of the India growth story. Temperatures continue to soar across North India, where the Met Department has declared a red alert. And yoga enthusiasts gear up for the International Day of Yoga, with focus on yoga for One Earth, One Health. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy, and before we go any further, another look at our top stories. Prime Minister Modi highlights India's transformation into a hub of digital innovation, tech-led governance and global trust. Says India's tech journey over the last 11 years is nothing short of revolutionary. Los Angeles and other cities across the U.S. witnessed more protests. Over 400 people have been arrested, including 330 undocumented migrants. Raids continue in Omaha, detaining dozens. Deal done to get U.S. China trade truce back on track. Donald Trump says U.S. tariffs will be set at 55% and China's at 10%. And America is to pull out personnel from West Asia over security threats from Iran. U.S. envoy Witkoff to meet Iran's foreign minister on Sunday. And India-EU free trade agreement is feasible by the end of this year. External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar says balanced, ambitious and mutually beneficial FTA will elevate the strategic partnership. India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal has invited Swedish business leaders to explore opportunities in India, highlighting the country's complementary strengths and potential for growth through the India-EU free trade agreement. After arriving in Sweden after concluding his successful trip to Switzerland, the minister engaged in a series of meetings with counterparts and business leaders. At the highly productive meetings, the leaders discussed strengthening collaboration across sectors like clean energy, digital technology, climate, healthcare and life sciences and skill development, among others. Piyush Goyal also addressed the concluding session at the ministerial meeting of the Indo-Swedish Joint Commission for Economic, Industrial and Scientific Cooperation. He highlighted how the exchange of capital, talent and technology forms the backbone of our economic partnership, with science, innovation and technology remaining one of the most dynamic areas for cooperation. And the Indian minister also engaged with Swedish business leaders at a dinner reception hosted by Sweden-India Business Council and the Embassy of India. He emphasized the remarkable progress India has made in technology, innovation and R&D, backed by the strength of our skilled and talented workforce. Piyush Goyal encouraged Swedish businesses to explore opportunities in India with immense potential to collaborate and bring mutual growth.
Come here to invite Sweden and Swedish businesses, Swedish investors to be an integral part of this growth story. We already have a big presence of 280 Swedish companies in India, most of them manufacturing in India. But I do believe the sky is the limit. There's huge potential awaiting all of us.
Commander of the Sri Lankan Army, the Lieutenant General BKGM Lasanta Rodrigo, has arrived on an official visit to India from the 11th to the 14th of this month. This visit will enhance bilateral military cooperation. Yesterday, on his first day of the visit, which began with a solemn wreath-laying ceremony at the National War Memorial in New Delhi, General Rodrigo paid tribute to the brave soldiers who made sacrifice for the nation. General Rodrigo was then given a formal Guard of Honor in the South Block lawns. The Guard of Honor was followed with a series of high-level meetings with Vice Chief of Army Staff of the Indian Army, General N.S. Raja Subramani, followed by meetings with Chief of the Naval Staff, Air Chief Marshal Amarpreet Singh, Chief of Air Staff and Defence Secretary Rajesh Kumar Singh. Later, the Lieutenant General of Sri Lankan Army was briefed on Operation Sindoor and India's security perspective. On the 12th of June, General Rodrigo will visit Jaipur and meet General Officer Commanding in Chief Southern Western Command, General Manjinder Singh. Now, the Indian Army's contingent has reached Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia today for the multinational military exercise Khan Quest, to be held from the 14th to the 28th of this month. The exercise aims to enhance global peacekeeping cooperation. The 40-member Indian Army contingent includes troops from the Kumaon Regiment along with personnel from other arms and services. One woman officer and 2 women soldiers are also a part of this contingent. The exercise aims to enhance Indian Armed Forces readiness for UN peacekeeping missions through joint planning, tactical drills and improved interoperability in a multinational setting. The previous edition took place from the 27th of July to the 9th of August 2024. Now, India is making a strong impression at the Indo Defence Expo, one of Southeast Asia's biggest defence exhibitions. From advanced missiles to surveillance systems, the Indian Pavilion is displaying the latest in defence technology. DD India's Chandni Vasandani gets us in this report.
I am at the India Pavilion at the Indo Defence Expo here in Jakarta. Some standout technologies being displayed here today are air-to-air missiles and wheeled armored platforms. Now, Indonesia is a coastal country, may be interested in India's Varun Astra, which is already deployed and being used by the Indian Navy. There is also this airborne early warning system for air surveillance, which was already in use during India's Operation Sindoor. India is bringing its defense capabilities to the global stage at Indo Defence Expo. From June 11 to 14, the country is taking part in one of Southeast Asia's largest defense exhibitions. Some star attractions are on display here that underline India's abilities in land, sea, and air warfare. India's growing appeal as a defense exporter is backed by a surge in indigenous R&D, resulting in cost-effective, cutting-edge technology, which could be appealing to countries like Indonesia.
So basically, most of the technology which we are showcasing here, these are already in the service. Indian armed forces are using it. They are quality-wise, they are at par with the internationally available system, and most of the Indian developed system are cost-effective as compared to the other Western countries. So it will be beneficial in terms of quality as well as cost.
Outside the pavilion, nearly a dozen Indian firms are presenting a diverse array of tech, from radar and cyber defense to drone warfare and precision systems. Among these is BrahMos, known as the world's fastest supersonic cruise missile. This joint venture has become a symbol of India's high-tech, high-trust defense export capabilities.
So what we are offering Indonesia is a system which can react very fast, which has minimum maintenance and which is highly accurate. So such sort of a system provides you the required defense posture which any country would like to have in its arsenal.
Indian companies at the Indo Defence this year are showcasing a full spectrum of India's defence manufacturing ecosystem, reflecting the country's drive to become a global hub for defence exports and innovation. Many are hoping to build new partnerships in Southeast Asia as India strengthens its Act East policy and defence diplomacy in the region. This is Chandni Vasandani reporting from Jakarta.
Let's get you some weather as well as temperatures continue to soar across the national capital. The Indian Met Department has said that there's a fresh red alert that has been put out. Delhi baked in extreme heat on Wednesday as the heat index shot up to a scorching 45.5 degrees Celsius, marking the 5th consecutive time this month that temperatures have crossed the 40 degrees mark. Humidity levels in the capital remain moderate at 39% during the early hours, but the combination of heat and dry southwesterly winds worsened discomfort. Along with Delhi, a red warning has also been issued for states such as Himachal Pradesh, which is a hill state, Rajasthan and Punjab. In fact, western Rajasthan has been reeling under a severe heat wave with temperatures crossing 47 degrees Celsius in Ganganagar or Sri Ganganagar for the second day in a row. The scorching conditions are expected to continue over the next few days. For the 13th of June, an orange alert has been issued for western Rajasthan, while East Rajasthan is under a yellow alert on the same day. Some relief may be on the way as thunderstorm activities are expected to take place between the 15th and 16th of June, which could bring down temperatures. A further drop in temperatures is likely in eastern Rajasthan around the 18th to the 20th of June due to these weather changes. Let me now take you across to get an update from one of the hottest regions in India, that's the state of Rajasthan, and we're going to the state capital there in Jaipur. Anusha Davle is joining me from there. Anusha, I see that you're standing in the shade, which is a good thing, but how is the mercury rising at this stage of the day? It's already 10:40 a.m. and it must be heading towards a peak of around 45 degrees Celsius, if not more.
Not currently in Jaipur. It's around 43, 44 degrees. So I'll tell you, it's between 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. that the temperature rises up, like to the levels where it's not very bearable. Otherwise, in Jaipur, currently in Jaipur, the temperature is not that high. So in Rajasthan, it's different for different parts of Rajasthan. So it's only in the western districts of Sri Ganganagar and Hanumangarh that red alert was issued right from Monday. Today it's been 3-4 days that the temperature is not going down beyond like 45 degrees. The highest was recorded even today in Sri Ganganagar, 48 degrees. So that's how it is in the western parts. But in the eastern parts and other parts, the temperature is not this high. And as being from Rajasthan, I understand that people also adapt to this. You know, they are ready for it. That as May starts, people know that temperature will rise, and it has been happening from years. So people adapt to it by changing their lifestyle habits, like tweaking a little things about it, like wearing loose clothes and light colors, and drinking more liquids, and getting themselves ready for it so that they don't get into the effect of the heat.
Right. All right. Thanks for joining us with that update from Rajasthan, Anusha. In Goa, which is again a world-renowned place where India is concerned, they have something called Susegad. That is something perhaps worth trying. A lot of people do try it as well. That is, go and take a nap in the afternoon, because it's impossible to do anything else, particularly outside, and just take a break from the heat. Now, the Railway Ministry has announced new rules for Tatkal tickets. That is what Railways has said, that only those users will be able to book online Tatkal tickets through the IRCTC website. Also, the app from the 1st of next month who have authenticated their account with Aadhaar. According to the new scheme, Aadhaar-based OTP authentication will be mandatory for online Tatkal bookings from the 15th of July this year. Tatkal tickets booked at computerized passenger reservation system counters and through authorized agents will require OTP authentication sent to the mobile number provided by the user at the time of the booking. The step has been taken to ensure fair and transparent access to Tatkal tickets and to safeguard the interest of passengers. Now, the countdown for the International Yoga Day has begun, and with the government expected to organize a mega event at Visakhapatnam to be led by Prime Minister Modi. The theme this year is Yoga for One Earth, One Health, with related activities revolving around 10 unique signature events to mark the 11th edition of the global event. The event includes Yoga Sangam, a synchronized yoga demonstration at 100,000 locations, followed by Yoga Bandhan, which is a global exchange program and knowledge session. Special features introduced this year by the government are Harit Yoga, which is a sustainability-driven initiative combining yoga with tree planting and clean-up drives, and Yoga Mahakumbh. So, this year's theme perfectly encapsulates India's collective aspiration for a healthier planet and a healthier humanity. And people in Spain are already immersed in the spirit of International Day of Yoga 2025, embracing the ethos of One Earth, One Health. From ancient Indian wisdom to global well-being, yoga continues to unite minds and bodies across continents. In Venezuela, the Indian Embassy in Caracas organized the 6th Curtain Raiser Yoga event earlier this week at the Art Gallery in the library of Simon Bolivar University in the run-up to IDY. Around 40 yoga enthusiasts came together to embrace wellness and mindfulness in a serene yoga session. And still to come on DD India News Hour. Global stocks and the dollar slip on Thursday amid U.S. inflation report. And in the World Test Championship final, South Africa bowled Australia out for 212 runs on day one, as well as then South Africa also lose 4 wickets in reply. Also, we'll get you images of wild giant panda making a surprise appearance in China. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy, and time now to get you some business world updates. Now, global stocks and the dollar slipped on Thursday amid U.S. inflation report, U.S. China trade talks, rising tensions in West Asia, and lingering tariff anxiety. The S&P 500 declined 27%, Nasdaq declined 0.5%, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average ended essentially unchanged. Data on Wednesday showed U.S. consumer prices increasing less than expected in May as cheaper gasoline partially offset higher rents, but inflation is expected to accelerate in the coming months on the back of the Trump administration's import tariffs. But Asian shares were slightly more positive, with MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan up about 0.7%, while the benchmark for major European shares closed 0.3% lower. Oil prices rose to a 7-week high as markets assessed the outcome of the U.S. China trade talks. U.S. crude gained 4.43% and Brent rose nearly 4% on the day. Now, gross foreign exchange reserves of Nepal stood at 18.4 billion US dollars, which is an all-time high, driven largely by a surge in remittances inflowing. According to a current macroeconomic and financial situation report released by the Nepal Rashtra Bank, remittances increased 10.5% in USD terms. Gross foreign exchange reserves rose by 23.1% in mid-May. Notably, 86.11 billion rupees have been added in a single month between mid-April and mid-May 2025, strengthening Nepal's external financial position. Four major sectors as export, foreign direct investment, foreign aid and tourism are the main sources of foreign currency earnings. But in Nepal, it is the remittances which have strengthened the foreign currency reserves. British Finance Minister or Chancellor of the Exchequer Rachel Reeves prioritised spending on health, defence and infrastructure projects to drive economic growth in a bid to reboot the Labour government's offer of a brighter future to increasingly disillusioned voters. Setting out day-to-day budgets for government departments from 2026 to 2029 and investment plans out to 2030, Reeves said the priorities of a spending review were those of the working people whose interests Labour has said it will keep focusing upon. And it's a major feather in India's cap on its path to becoming a developed nation by 2047, the year it completes 100 years of independence. The International Labour Organization, or ILO, has said that India has posted the world's fastest growth in social protection cover over the last 1 decade. It has gone up from just 19% in 2015 to 64.3% in 2025, all by the dint of its multiple pro-poor schemes. Here's more.
India is taking big strides in its march to becoming a developed nation by 2047. Apart from being the fastest growing large economy in the world, the nation has also notched up the world's fastest growth in social protection coverage over the last 1 decade. According to the latest data from the International Labour Organization's ILO Stat database, India's social security coverage has increased from 19% in 2015 to 64.3% in 2025, an unprecedented 45 percentage point surge over the past decade.
प्रधानमंत्री श्री मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में भारत ने सतत आर्थिक विकास और रोजगार सृजन के लिए एक नई नींव रखी है। हम सब मिलकर ऐसे फ्यूचर वर्क का निर्माण करें जो इनोवेशन और इंक्लूजन का संगम हो और जहां कोई भी श्रमिक पीछे ना छूटे।
What sweetens the pot further is that India now ranks second in the world in terms of the number of beneficiaries. The ILO has said that India now provides social protection coverage to over 940 million citizens. The ILO has officially recognized India's achievement and published it on its dashboard. A national-level social protection data pooling exercise has also been carried out. The current numbers reflect only Phase 1 of the data pooling exercise. Phase 1 focuses on beneficiary data of central and women-centric schemes in 8 select states. Phase 2 and further consolidation are set to be underway. It is expected that India's total social protection coverage will surpass the 1 billion mark soon.
On behalf of India Inc., I commend the Government of India for this visionary expansion of social security. This is not just a welfare, it's a foundation of a productive, confident and resilient new India. When workers are protected, industry thrives and nation prospers. In the words of our Prime Minister, this is what is called Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas.
Since 2014, when Prime Minister Narendra Modi began the first of his third terms in office, his government has launched dozens of social welfare schemes ranging from free to subsidized food grain, potable water, toilets, cooking gas connections, life, medical and crop insurance, housing, microcredit and much else, particularly targeting the poor as beneficiaries. The ILO's recognition is not only an endorsement of the effectiveness of the schemes, but also how the economic growth being witnessed in India is inclusive, covering all sections of society. With Bureau inputs, Gautam Roy for DD India.
Let's now get you some sporting updates as well. Now, South Africa bowled Australia out for 212 on day one of the World Test Championship 2025 final at Lord's. Kagiso Rabada was the star of the show, picking up a sensational 5-wicket haul. Rabada dismissed openers Usman Khawaja and Cameron Green in just one over before taking 3 more wickets after tea. Marco Jansen also chipped in with 3 wickets. Australia's Steve Smith and Bo Webster were the only notable contributors with a bat, as both scored half-centuries. In response, South Africa also lost both their openers in quick succession thanks to brilliant bowling by Mitchell Starc. Wiaan Mulder and Tristan Stubbs too left early as South Africa were 43 for 4 at stumps on day one, trailing Australia by 169 runs. Now, the Indian men's hockey team put up a spirited display against Argentina but went down 3-4 in the FIH Hockey Pro League in the Netherlands. For India, Harmanpreet Singh netted twice while Abhishek added a third. For Argentina, the goals came from Mateus Rey, Lucas Martinez, Santiago Tarazona and Lucio Mendez. Now, with all to play for, it was Argentina which came out of the blocks quicker than India. India is currently 4th in the points tally with 15 points from 11 games. The two sides will meet again on Thursday, and head coach Craig Fulton will hope his side will break its losing streak. Double Olympic medalist Manu Bhaker has qualified for a high score of 588 but ended up 6th in the 25-meter sports pistol event in the Shooting World Cup in Germany on Wednesday. Manu missed the chance to move further into the final as she lost by 1 point to the eventual bronze medalist Yang Jin of Korea. In the men's 50-meter rifle 3-position event, Olympian Chen Singh made the final with an impressive score of 592 but eventually was placed 7th. And in the men's air pistol, Varun Tomar had made it to the final but finished 6th. So India has only the bronze medal so far, won by Elavinil Valarivan in the women's air rifle. Now, wild giant pandas made a surprise appearance nearby a villager's home in a rural part of northwest China, with the rare sighting highlighting the region's thriving biodiversity. Unexpected encounters occurred, pleasing onlookers. I don't know whether you counted or not, but I counted 6. That's a good number to have 6 pandas altogether in the wild. Now, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us now know your thoughts on the news of the day. And for those on go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India's mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS. Just scan the QR code on the screen and download the app right away. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.